Good morning, all. Anyway, I'm back again, under huge duress from my anxiety, saying this is stupid, this is stupid, this is stupid. No one's gonna believe you. No one's gonna believe you. This is stupid. You're stupid. You're an idiot. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Nobody's gonna believe you. Everybody's gonna call you fake and all the other shit in my head. But I am trying to step out of my box, outside of my comfort zone, and say, and do things that scare me. So here I am. And so, since my awakening that I'm still apparently going through, my mother is my soul guide, and spirits can see everything. They can see everything that's happening all the time, everywhere. So she has knowledge about this stuff, and she's been telling me about the true history of the world, and it is a mind. I'm not religious in any way, shape, or form. I've tried to read the Bible, couldn't get through it. It doesn't make any sense to me, and um I respect everybody's beliefs, obviously, but I don't understand the Bible at all. But the Bible is incredibly, incredibly misunderstood, totally misunderstood, and um, and my mom has the knowledge about where we actually came from. And it's funny because my dad, when he was alive, he talked about this stuff a lot. I just didn't know what it was. I didn't have a clue. So basically, um, I'm sure that people know that that the Earth has been visited by UFOs and aliens and things like that, and I mean, there's been, that's been happening for years. So we all know, I think, for the most part, there are aliens out here. Now, the aliens are from a a planet in the Sirius star. I'm getting this kind of channeled to me through my mom. So bear with me if I sound like I'm stuttering or if I have it's a translation. So the Palladians are a race of aliens that come from the Sirius star galaxy about 75,000 light years away from us. And they came here about 75,000 years ago to Earth because Earth is actually filled with gold and all over the place. And they had a okay, how do I put this? They built a not a spaceship, but they erected a monument to explore space. They built a craft. The first craft they built to explore space was made of gold because they have a little bit of gold there too, but just not nearly as much as we have here. I'm not sure why. They have more gold there. We have more gold here because Earth is denser. They need they need more of it to live. Okay. So the Palladians built this spaceship. Their first spaceship, their first UFO, I guess, really, out of carbon monoxide, um, um, chloroform, which in a melted form gives you a titanium steel. Melted form, chloroform in in um not melted in hard form gives you titanium steel. I know nothing about this stuff, so I have no idea if this is all true. It's true, Devin. Trust me. I've seen it done. That's my mom, everyone. My mom, Karen. Insanely enough, her name is Karen. She's the complete opposite of any Karen that you'll ever meet. But okay, anyway. So chloroform in hard form creates titanium steel. So that was what chloroform, nitrous oxide, which creates energy, and titanium aluminum, which is quite abundant on their planet. So all of these different elements they put together to make their first UFO, and they put nitrous oxide, carbon monoxide on it on that side because carbon monoxide in liquid form is creates heat. So they sort of painted their ship with the carbon monoxide to keep it warm in space as they travel because space is very cold. It's like Antarctica. It's freezing. So they knew that because they'd gone out before in another type of ship that was gold, but it was another one. They made at first. This was, I guess, their second attempt at their first ship. Their first attempt froze. It was too cold. It was way too cold, and they barely made it back. They got out only so far, And then they realized how freezing it was. Okay, we can't handle this. We're gonna go home. They went back and said, okay, well, what can we do to change this? How can we fix it? So they're scientists. I guess they have scientists there. They have scientists there. They're very intelligent. They're light years away from us in high. We're like cavemen to them as far as our technology goes. So they had scientists that um, that that understood the properties of the scientific table and what they can do, and thought, okay, we'll put carbon monoxide, we'll paint it with carbon monoxide because carbon monoxide creates heat. So in their heads, they were okay. We'll keep it protected from the heat or from the cold with that. So then when they launched it, the fire blew everything up. They destroyed their planet with that, and they had bodies before we have bodies, which is another story completely in a sense. But I'm saying that they blew their planet up, and they were just souls. They were just We all have souls. Every living creature has a soul, but they blew themselves up, but they still had the souls. And the souls, the on their planet, um, they don't. Their planet is not as dense. Their planet is spiritual. Our planet is dense. It's made of, we can see things. We have things have matter. We have matter here. Matter is what makes everything that we see. So, but they don't have that there, so I didn't need to have them. So it's okay. Well, they're walking around naked, but they're black forms. They're not anything. They're just black forms. So, but they don't need to have the clothing there, but they did have. But they know the earth is loaded with gold. So they so they God, so source. I prefer source because God is too religious for me. God doesn't have anything to do with religion. Source gave them light suits of light that were um, that were that were molded into what you call your body, the human form. And it was they were create Source created them out of light from his body. So that's how you are, in the form. The Bible says that we are made in God's image, because we are all part of God. We are all God. Source I prefer, but anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm saying we are all part of God. It's like a fire as sparks on it. The sparks themselves are not the fire. Like, you have children. The children are not you, but you are not the children, but they are part of you. The same thing, right? So, um, so God, or Source, created these bodies to function in on the planet Earth, because it's so dense, and it's pretty complicated to explain, but they needed to be able to function. They needed to be able to survive on planet Earth. So it created these bodies, these physical bodies, to like vehicles that can see, hear, smell, taste, survive, and have feelings and all the other things we experience, to be able to experience life on Earth. And the Earth is a school. The Earth was found because the Palladians came here to mine gold. But what happened was that um, before they got here, um, the only living the only well the creatures that were here before were the Sasquatches. We all know Sasquatches, right? Well, Sasquatches are very real. They're highly intelligent creatures that were placed here on another planet, from another planet called from Sirius, um, the same time, about 750,000 years ago, and they came here from Palladia because they were the first ones who wanted to mine for gold, but they couldn't survive here because they didn't have the technology. They couldn't mine. They didn't have the advancement of they were like the cousins of the Palladians, the cousins of the ones that did come here who got the gold. They didn't have the advanced technology. They were too young. They were in their infancy. This isn't making any sense whatsoever. And so they they just lived out. They just lived here. They're very highly intelligent, but they just didn't have the. They're not. they hadn't reached the point of being able to they didn't have the knowledge they needed to create the technology they had. They're not as advanced as the other Pleiadians. The Pleiadians are like they were like in high school, and the Pleiadians that came here that were able to get were like in university. They hadn't reached that level of intelligence yet, so they just kind of, okay, we're here, and like all dressed up and no place to go in a sense, you know. So they just lived here, but the trick with them is they're very highly intelligent, and they're highly intelligent enough that they're able to that they're see everything that exists is energy, and everything that exists is a vibration. It's vibration, it's energy, it's everything. If you were to take a hammer or break down anything like um ouch. If you're anything that you can see, if you were to break it down and take away and take apart all the and break it down to little molecules, the atoms of molecules that exist that create everything, you would see there's nothing there. There's no hard dense matter. Like this is what my hand or this is a my it's a uh shot collar thing for my dog. But if you were to break this down, it looks like it's real, it looks like it's solid, but if you were to break it into down to the last atoms, you would see all that is there are these tiny little molecules that are vibrating, like a little like spinning energy, like all around spinning energy. And the way that we see it is our eyes perceive it by the light, because nothing, and this is going to be a mind fuck, but nothing is real. Everything exists as energy, and everything that we see is perceived by our eyes because we see it, and our mind tells us what we think it is. So, nothing has any inherent value, and nothing has any inherent meaning. Everything is absolutely meaningless. We put meaning on everything. So, our lives here, we are born, we experience our lives, we think our lives are real because we live them, and we see them, and we feel them, we taste, we touch because we were given senses, right? Source gave us the senses because he or it wanted to experience life on Earth as a physical being. So it wasn't able to do that, of course, physically itself. So it sent off a bunch of say sparks. It threw a bunch of sparks onto the Earth, and the sparks evolved into went from bacteria, which is like the very beginning of the earth, to we evolved through creation to become humans, and we all have to experience a different level of existence. We have to we come first as elements. We come through as we experience, because everything exists has a soul. So rain, fire, wind, everything, plants, animals, we all have to experience everything to be able to ascend to. It's like a ladder. We start at the bottom, we start out as bacteria, we start out as and then we go up to animals, and we go up to um um I've got a ton of different things in my head, so I'm trying to figure out which is what. It's like it's very hard to explain, but we ascend up the ladder to consciousness, because animals are very highly intelligent, but they can't talk, they can't read, they can't think about, they don't care about, they have emotions, but they don't have they don't let they're not they don't have the same level of emotions that we do. They don't get, well, they get jealous, of course, but they don't get attached. I mean, the lady, the female arachnid spider will eat her mate after she's had sex with him. So there's no emotion there, obviously. We don't have that. We have that. We don't have that. We don't do that. We fall in love, we have relationships, we have sex, we have children, we love, we care, we cry, we all that. Not all animals have that. I wouldn't say problem, that instinct, you know. But of course, we have jealousy. I mean, animals have jealous. They have, dogs get jealous of each other, and different animals get jealous of each other. So we do have those similarities, but aside from that, we're different. There's all different, all these different little different differences may separate us. So But I'm saying that we all move up the ladder from bacteria to animals to humans. I guess is that the correct? Yes, that's right. Okay, so bacteria, animals, humans, and humans are about halfway up the evolutionary state. And the truth of the matter is that Jesus was a real human, and he was what is called an ascended master. He had reached the what all humans are supposed to be able to do. Humans, every single human on this earth has the ability to do what Jesus did. They just don't understand it because he was so advanced, because his mind was what your minds can be, what you're capable of. And I, as Devin, have always had this thought in my head, because um it was just it occurred to me, like it made sense that the mind's a very powerful thing. It's almost like having this really powerful machine in your garage that could help you out enormously in your life, but you just don't know that you don't know how to turn it on, you don't know how it works. It's kind of cool to show off to friends sometimes, but you have no clue how it works and no clue how much it could help you. So you just kind of leave it in the garage and, okay, I'll just, do my life and whatever. You can't figure it out. It's too hard. It's too complicated to understand. So you don't use it. So you don't work it out. So it's like a muscle. You have to work it out. You have to use it. So, back to the Palladians. So the Palladians came here to mine gold. So they didn't want to have to, they, they didn't want to stay on Earth because it's too dense, it's too hard, it's like living in quicksand. No one would want to live in quicksand. It's too hard to get around. It's a horrible, living in quicksand would be awful. So they decided to take some of the Sasquatches that were living here, and they took probably about 10 of them, and they infused them with their DNA from their bodies, and created what was a hybrid race of humans called the oh boy called the and this is being channeled to me, so I'm not making this up. I'm just trying to get the word coming through my head. Oran, orangutans. Orangutans. They became orangutans. And the orangutans were the ones who they're not human level. They're obviously not human level. They can function, they can take care of themselves, they can do what the basics of the human can do, but they can't think very well. They kind of play around. They didn't take they were not they were just not able to focus on what they were doing, and the work was taking forever, and they were kind of just like playing around. They weren't really working. They were just sort of, not lazy, but they didn't have the sense to. They're like a small child. Like, you wouldn't let a small child take it, do a serious adult's job. They don't have the sense for it, right? They don't have the mental power to do it. So the Palladians said, okay, we have to, bump it up a notch. So we give them a little bit of extra intelligence through a hybrid. We made more hybrids and just amped up the level of intelligence a little bit. So those hybrids, so the ones that originally there, they just sort of stayed back and let them enjoy the Earth type thing, and was actually the earth was the original Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden is not in the way that the Bible expresses it. It is a real place. The garden was supposed to be Earth. Earth is supposed to be like a playground, like a park. Like, people, there's a park in a community. The community exists. There's people. There's stores. There's everybody. But the park is where people go to play with their children, have fun, and forget life for a while, or forget you know what I mean, right? That's what the Earth was supposed to be like. Let's go to Earth for a while and have fun. Let's go play. Let's go have fun. And it was a gorgeous Garden of Eden. I can see it in my head. It was beautiful. Like, you wouldn't believe how gorgeous it was. Wildlife and trees and everything that we have was here. And Adam and Eve were not people. They were a race of aliens the that created. They were Palladians, a race of aliens. A race of aliens from Palladia. It would be like, the black people and Indian people, East Indian people coming together to make their own race of people. You know, that was what it was, like, just different races of people coming together to create a new one. So so uh, Adam is a race called and I've um, this is a this is a very tricky word to say, but and so I'm gonna stumble on it. It's Adorantine, Adoria. They are Adorians, and um, no, not Edwards. Adam, because the first part of the word is Adam. Adamoria. Right. Adamoria. I was talking about this to a friend earlier, and I remember that it was Adamoria. So they used Adam, and Eve is a was another race of Palladians, and whose name was ever no ever Eventide, right, Eventide. And so they just took it. The reason they named Eve was because of the name Eve, but Eve, they came at a time when the summer solstice was happening. The summer solstice is basically what we call fall. It was, the end of summer, start of winter, the summer solstice. So they were having a celebration, and they saw a UFO coming down from the sky, and were shocked, obviously, and they didn't seem to be frightened. They knew that they were curious, but they were not frightened. So they made contact with the aliens, and the aliens were very nice and said that we're alien friends from, we come in peace type thing. We're not here to hurt you. We just want to say we're here to check on, kind of explained how they got there, and how, you're our evolutionary cousins type thing. We made you. And they were like, oh, okay, well, hi, how are you? Like, almost like a family reunion in a way. So, and Stonehenge is what their landing pad, if you will. And the rocks there was kept as a calendar for when they would be coming. And, well, there's other things to do with that, but I feel like that might be a bit too much right now. So maybe I'll leave that for a different video if you're interested. It's just about the history of. I will say, I know where the devil comes from. Let's just say that. But that's probably a bit too much for everything else. So, but I'm saying that Stonehenge was kept as a calendar. They were lifted through vibrational sounds, through sound vibrations. Because if you make a high enough sound, a high enough pitch sound, you can raise things. That's all it is. That's how the pyramids were made. That's how everything in history was made at the time, because people had the knowledge to be able to create sound waves. And when you make the right frequency of sound wave, you can lift things. And people actually do that now. I mean, you can YouTube videos, people doing that now with, like, very small, on a very small scale. This is like a huge grand scale. So the pyramids were made like that, and the Stonehenge was made with the sound levitation. So it was very easy. It takes like 5 seconds, honestly, and it's up. So yeah, so Stonehenge was made through sound levitation, and they were um, painted with hieroglyphics depicting what the aliens looked like. And okay, well, I guess I'm gonna go into this because I'm being channeled to tell you this stuff. The aliens to them looked like the depictions on the rocks that they created were not Picasso. They were not artists, and they looked very scary. They looked like devils, and that was. I won't go into more about that because it's a bit too much. I don't want to go off on it. This is a lot of information. I don't want to confuse anybody or freak anybody out or whatever. But I just that's what that was. So and so that's how Stonehenge was made. So back to the Palladians. So the Palladians came here to mine for gold and created these hominids, created these hybrid beings out of the Sasquatches, which became orangutans. And the orangutans were not quite smart enough. They were the little children type things, so they were not quite smart enough. They were left to go. Okay, go and run and play. You're free to go. So then they created the next hybrids, which were chimpanzees, and the chimpanzees were smarter, but not smart enough. They were still not quite there, so they had to do extra ones. So that's where we got the chimpanzees. And the next ones were the the no, not they were tangerine colored. I'm getting the orange tangerine color, and the other ones were the brown ones. So then the next ones were the humanoids. That's the ones they got right. So they got the humanoids right. So they had emptied everything up in their bodies to create the humanoids, and they they had the correct ratio of what they needed to create the proper humanoids to do the work. So we had gorillas, which were the first ones, the orangutans. That was the orange fur came from the fact that they had to put um orange phosphate into their blood DNA to make them distinguished distinguish them from the other ones, so we would know that they were the different ones. Which makes sense. So we had to infuse their skin with orange phosphorus to make their skin different colors, so we would be able to separate them from the first ones. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, then Source um, came and offered to make bodies for us so that we could have them. So we experimented with the next batch, and found and we with their DNA, and we uh got them to the point where they were in test mode. They were in beta testing mode, and they were testing great. They could do everything we wanted them to do. And then Source said, "Well, how they won't be able to survive on Earth in the density that is there. So let me make them I'll make them a spacesuit." Which basically became our bodies, and he made it so that we can, and and he it I should say, I keep saying he, but it um offered this because he wanted to experience what it was like on Earth. He had no idea. It can't feel, it can't touch, it can't see, it can't anything. So it wanted to see what the experience was like. I want to check that place out. What's that like? I mean, I want to go to play. I want to go to Earth, and I want to go to the park, and I want to go to the Garden of Eden. I want to check out my new digs, kind of thing. So it created these earth suits, so these bodies that he'd be able to um they're like feelers, they're like tentacles on a fish, like an octopus has tentacles, and they're they're connected to they're connected to its brain, but it's not a part, it's a part of its body. Is what So we are part of the Source's body, we are part of God's body, and he has basically sent out his tentacles in a way to search Earth, and he wants, and whatever we feel, it feels. So, and we are all, that's why we're all his children. that's why that's why the Bible says we are God's children. We are, in the sense it created us, for sure, absolutely. But it is not it's a spiritual being. It's not a little man up in the clouds judging us. There's no judgment. There's absolutely no judgment. There's no judgment. There's no heaven. There's Heaven is a realm of consciousness that your mind goes into when you're sleeping. When you're sleeping, you go to heaven every night. You go to heaven. Heaven is a realm of consciousness known as the fourth dimension. There's no density. There's no. Everyone is a soul. That's where you go when you die. And people just associate it with heaven because there's no death. There's no pain. There's no hurt. There's no sadness. Nothing. You lose all your earthly feeling when you lose. I mean, you have your emotions, but you lose all your earthly feeling. All your pain goes away. You can choose what age you are, and it's just like a resting. It's a resting place for. It's like after having gone deep, gone for a swim in like a polar swim, if you will, in a really cold lake, and you go out and you go to a warm bath, and it's nice and warm and it's beautiful. It's like, oh, this is beautiful. This is heaven. Yes, exactly. That's how that works. So God sent out these, or Source sent out these little tentacles of his own to sense and feel what Earth was like. He wanted to feel what everybody was feeling. So like a party that everybody else was going to, but he couldn't go because he can't leave the house. So he said, okay, well, I'll send my little minions out there. I'll send some sparks of fire out there, and they can go and populate the Earth, and I'll create these humans. I'll create this. You've created the souls. I create the souls too. He creates the souls too, but he creates the souls. They created hybrids with their DNA, and then he created the human bodysuits that have all of the necessary functions that we need to survive on the planet Earth. That's how that happened. And he loves us all very, very much. It is not I really struggle with this because it is not a human. It is a source of life. It is a energy. It is a powerful energy. The source of life is love. Love is a frequency. Love is an actual scientific frequency. It is a frequency of 400 million. Wow. This is just the number I'm getting. 400 million, 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 25,000 times, 1,000 times million frequency. So this is insanely powerful. I'm getting a sense of it now, and it's wow. So it's something that we could not even hope to experience as humans in our bodies. We experience it. The only time that we could ever experience is anybody who's had a near death experience, because people, anytime you hear someone talking about that stuff, is usually they always say, I've seen a light, and I just felt this incredible, immense, overwhelming, almost teary-eyed sense of love, and unconditional love and acceptance. Love and unconditional acceptance. Love, 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 love. Okay. Sorry about that. It just kind of comes out of me when I talk about it. Honestly, it happens sometimes. Love, love, love. All you need is love, love. That's all you ever need. But yeah, so so that is what creates the source of life on earth is love, the vibration of love. That is the source of life. That is what everybody calls God, source. We call people who are spiritual call it source, and and Dolores Cannon, the woman I was telling you about who did all of the meditations and everything, led people through the guided meditations, she found all this information out through the people that she worked with. She worked in meditation for 50 years, and she regressed people through her work because she started out doing meditation to help people quit smoking. Back in the 70s, it was a bit of a fad to, that was how people stopped doing things, by meditation. And she regressed a woman who was back in the 60s, and during her regression, she, well, I won't say turned into, but she became, it's almost like a, no, she became she was a 25-year-old girl. She was from Queens, New York. Her name was Julie. I shouldn't say her name. That's not right. But she was a young woman. She was 25 years old. She was blonde hair, and I'm kind of seeing an image of her in my head. And she started to take on the person. She was a very shy girl, very shy. She was very social anxiety, very bad social anxiety. And somehow this girl who had horrible social anxiety, who had to be kind of dragged to. That was why she had. That was why she was there, because she was trying to find out why she had. So her husband brought her there because he wanted to see why what caused her social anxiety. So he brought her there, and while she was under, she took on the personality of this 1930s flapper. And a flapper is like a showgirl, not like a showgirl, like a like a uh, um like a dancer, like a dance hall girl kind of thing, and like an entertainer. And she took on this personality, and she just took on this personality for like a half an hour. And Dolores Cannon was like, what is this happening here? This is not what I don't know what and okay, so, and she wasn't exactly scared, but she's like, what is happening? But she talked to her, and okay, what do you see, what do you hear, trying to understand for herself what was happening. And that was how she was able to figure out that she was going through she was visiting a previous life. And what you need to understand about that, in a sense, really, which is very important to understand, is that everything is happening all at once. Everything happens all at once. There is no time. Time is very linear. There is no time at all. Time is a man-made earth earth concept. It's an earth concept because you know you we we need time here to keep our, we've our lives have developed so much that we need time to have day. We have day and night, but the only time that exists is, and the only reason we have day and night is to, because we have to have balance. We have day, we have night, balance. And the seasons are another form of change, obviously, another form of time change in a way, but that's just because um, the our solar plexus tells us that we have time because it helps us differentiate between night and day. So there is no difference between night and day. It's just the time when the sun goes down. So it's not an actual time. It's just the sun goes down, it revolves around the sun, and our solar plexus, which is our cognitive thinking, tells us that, okay, well, this is different. This is day. The sun is up in the day, then it disappears, and that is night. And our minds came up with the word. The word day comes from the Latin term dare, deum. It comes from the Latin term deum, and which means day. And so they ascribed the word day to the fact that it was changing. And night is nocturum, which is Latin for nocturum is night, and they ascribed their solar plexus told them they named the day, and they named the night, because their solar plexus told them this is what they associated it as black night. Night is black. It was just their how they made sense of everything. The changing of the day to night. And the seasons are there because it's when the earth goes through changes. Everything changes life, everything has to die, everything has to live. When the fall comes, everything dies. The plants die, everything dies. Winter comes and freezes everything, makes it cold, and cleanses the earth. Winter is a cleanse for the earth to make everything new again. And then when spring comes, everything is beautiful and everything shines and everything is the birds sing and you see trees and everything is growing, and the plants grow and flowers grow and trees grow, and trees and plants are alive just as you and me too. They have souls, they have consciousness, they can hear everything. They're so sad. All like the trees of the world are so sad because they're being killed at horrible rates. And okay, we should probably not go there. I've gone on for like for more than a half an hour. I have no idea if anybody's even remotely interested in this. So I'm just gonna maybe stop it here. And if you like, let me know and I'll be back. If not, then ciao. Namaste. Bye.